This isolation and all the mental health issues that come along with it is a growing problem, but that doesn't mean that it has to be for us. In my previous video, I unpack a really long article from The Atlantic that studies the massive decline of socializing and hanging out in America, plus its huge consequences. I'll link to that video here for context for you if you want to read the whole thing, but basically, the article listed 3 big factors that are affecting us today. It mentions sprawling cities, declining church engagement, and social mobility as huge factors that are affecting our ability to connect with one another. So what am I doing to fight these, and what can you do to cultivate healthier social lives for yourselves? That's what I wanted to share, sort of as a response to the article, because information is one thing, but figuring out what to do with it is another. And my hope is that knowing what I'm doing is an encouragement to you and gives you some ideas about what you can do too. Now, when it comes to sprawling environments, one thing I know is that I can't change the design of my city, but I can choose where I spend my time. And so I spend it around people, and I do that intentionally. I'm intentionally out there in the world, and I do a couple of things here. Number one, I sit on my front porch pretty much every single morning. One, I do that because I just enjoy being outside, but two, because it's the most surefire way for me to most likely get to interact with my neighbors as they pass by. The more regularly that I'm outside, the more our relationships grow over time. Number two, I frequently study and work at coffee shops to build relationships with the baristas and the frequent customers that are in my community. I'm actually getting coffee with one of those people tomorrow because we've gotten to know each other over the last couple weeks and months. And number three, I also frequent the same gym several times a week, and I choose not to wear my headphones so that I can interact with those around me and take down the signal that I'm unwilling to engage in conversation. I really feel like headphones have been a real big problem in the 21st century because we all kind of go into this different little world where we're moving at a different pace, interacting with our own different content, and we kind of end up passing by each other without actually living in the same space. So there's a consideration for you. I mean, our headphones actually creating different separate realities for us where we're living right parallel next to each other, but kind of in our own different worlds. Something I've been thinking about, let me know in the comments. Basically, what I've found is that's pretty much the formula for relationships. I mean, relationship happens because time plus proximity plus vulnerability equals intimacy. If we're willing to spend more time in the same places, create proximity where we're nearer to those who are around us, and we open up and have some vulnerability and some candor, we're going to find that intimacy is the thing that follows. Secondly, the article mentions the decline of church, and while some people are disengaging from church gatherings, church has a really firm place in my calendar every single week. I make it a point to be there. It's not really a negotiable for me because one, not only am I putting myself in the presence of God consistently, but I've found that it's really hard to develop meaningful relationships with people that are passionate for God like myself if I'm never actually where they are. And so another pro tip I would share is simply, if you tend to show up right as your church service is starting, maybe try arriving 10 minutes earlier and lingering a bit afterwards. I've found that the best conversations and connection happen when we make space for them while there's no schedule or program taking place to distract us. Regarding church as well, you can even consider your stage of life and simply look for a youth group or a young adult group or a family-oriented small group if your church has them, so that you can be around people your age and in your season of life. This is a great way to find community. It's been one of the most essential for me. I mean, most of the friends in my life come from these kind of groups, young adult groups, youth groups, students that have ultimately become friends. So maybe consider joining one. If your church doesn't have it, I know that lots of churches want this kind of community, and so maybe you can help form something. Okay, the third thing is social mobility. Now, when it comes to people being further from family than ever before, this is kind of a tough topic because in many ways, I think that this is a personal choice. Now, you can share all sorts of life scenarios and things that I'm probably not taking into account, but when I think about my life and the people around me, I just am aware of the fact that no one is making us move away from family or take the job across the country simply for more money. Now, I'm not totally set on this, but I wonder sometimes if it's not an indicator that reveals that we've begun to value careers and money over family, connection, and relationships, and that the fact that this is even attention might reveal an idle or a misplaced priority. That may be true, that may be not. Let me know what you think in the comments. As for me, I've intentionally refrained from taking opportunities that have come my way so that I can choose to remain closer to the family and the friendships that I've made over the years. I just don't think that a few more dollars of income is going to be worth moving away from the friendships that I find so life-giving and that have taken so many years for me to build. Now, I do recognize that God could call me at any point in time to move to a new city or to move across the country or even to a different nation. But for the time being, I have the opportunity to choose to stay where I am. And so I'm going to take that opportunity as a time to build relationships. Now, the last thing I want to touch on isn't really something from the article so much as something I've simply noticed, but it's the way that digital technology has affected our relationships. I've noticed the power of technology to separate us. Yes, it has the power to connect us. We have social media, and yet a time when we're more connected than ever before, people are also lonelier than they've ever been before. I have friends who actually have admitted that when a moment feels awkward or uncomfortable, they're more likely to pull out their phones and look busy than to sit through the tension and engage with the people around them. And we've all probably noticed this or done it in some way, avoiding strangers in line at the grocery store by scrolling through social media while we wait on the cashier, or simply getting on our phones just because the people around us got on theirs. There's a lot of social pressure to be on our devices, and when we look at these screens, we end up not looking at the world around us. And I'll be honest, I just miss the days before smartphones, when you'd get in a conversation with someone at the clothing store because you both bonded over the interesting shirt that you found in the clothing rack, or the little jokes that you might share with a stranger while waiting in line because something silly happened off in the distance. I miss the memories I have of riding my bike in a small town back in the day and knowing that every single car that drove by was going to lift up a smile and wave as they passed by. I mean, I miss friendliness, I miss connection, I miss the times when everyone in society seemed to be working towards it together. Something seems to have shifted in the last few years, and I just think that this is worth fighting to recover. Not only because Americans were known for their friendliness around the world, but because the Bible calls us to be this in the name of Christ. It's God's character, and we're his image bearers. We reflect him everywhere that we go. So one way that I fight the battle with my phone is simply by using an app that blocks all of the other apps on my phone. I call it the one app to rule them all. Now, this video isn't sponsored in any way, but the app Opal is what I use to block Instagram and TikTok and other apps during the day. What I love about it is that I can set limits for how many times I can open the apps in the day and for how long I can do that. I can even set focus times for other apps if I need to block out a certain few, but I still need access to ones during the day like my texts or my emails. What I do is I set blocks throughout the day that keep me off of it in the morning so that I'm not distracted from scripture. I put blocks in the middle of the day so that I can focus on my meaningful work and be able to leave that at work and be present at home. And then I also put blocks at the end of the day so that I don't get sucked into the scroll hole right before bed and find myself staying up way past when I should have. I've found that it's way better than Apple's screen time if you have an iPhone, which, let's be honest, is way too easy to bypass if your self-control is just a little too weak in that moment. Anyway, there's a free version that I use and there's a paid version. So if you're curious to check it out, I'll leave a link to it in the video description below. I think it'll give you a free 30-day trial of all the features. Now, there's a lot I just covered in a short amount of time. So the question is, what do we do with this? I mean, are these the steps that we all need to take in order to overcome the loneliness epidemic and the mental health spiral that we're seeing, especially among teens and young adults in our society? The real answer is, I don't know. These are just a few of the things that I've done in my own life to fight the patterns of isolation that I keep seeing and feeling. I really do think there's a larger spiritual battle to be fought here. I mean, followers of Jesus recognize that there is a real spiritual enemy who wants us to be divided, distracted, disoriented, and depressed. Humanity is really strong when we're united, and our spiritual enemies win in the short term when we're more consumed with our social anxieties, more fixated on our differences, and too distracted by our phones to really think critically about it all. Fortunately, I know that Christ wins in the end, but what I don't want to see is I don't want to see people going down with the ship because they haven't thought about it. And that's why I think these are important conversations to have. Ultimately, we all have a role to play in combating the effects of both technology separation and social isolation in our society. And I think that by taking small proactive steps in our daily lives to simply create intentional rhythms and habits that fight against these forces, I think we can foster real community and recover something that is quickly becoming lost in our world. So here we are. I've shared what I think and what I'm doing, but what about you? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments because I have a lot that I can keep learning in this area, and I'm sure your experiences can help. If you like these conversations and this has added some value to your life, don't forget to subscribe. And of course, if you like these videos exploring cultural challenges from a biblical perspective, let me know so I can make more of them for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.